Welcome back to MotionPic Recap. Today we're going to recap a movie titled Oblivion. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. A man called Jack reminisces about Earth before the war, recalling memories of a place he knows only through images. They're assigned together for a mission, but Jack ponders the past and the events leading to their current predicament, including the destruction of Earth caused by scavengers. Jack and a woman called Victoria safeguard hydro rigs that turn seawater into fusion energy for the new human settlement on Titan, encountering disruptions from remnants of the scavenger force. Despite his responsibilities, Jack feels a profound bond with Earth, considering it his true home, despite all the transformations. Jack says good morning to a bobblehead called Bob in his futuristic vehicle, readying for takeoff, with Victoria aiding in the control room, making sure all systems are functioning before giving clearance. Jack confirms the start of the mission, acknowledging readiness and receiving directions from a control center, as the team tackles challenges such as drone failures and breach perimeters. Jack checks on drones and hydro rigs, while Victoria oversees and handles the situation from the control room, addressing unforeseen problems. A woman called Sally talking from the TET space station, and Victoria synchronize mission activities, updating logs and tackling operational issues, as Jack pilots through missions with periodic check-ins from the cockpit. Victoria says someone has connected to a beacon, while studying a map, and Jack confirms he's heading to the specified location. Victoria informs Sally that Jack, known as Tech 49, is on his way to Grid 37, and needs to replace Drone 109, which is out of commission due to maintenance, stressing the urgency for Jack to find and repair drones. Jack steers a spacecraft through tough conditions, including stormy weather and a tunnel, while Sally questions the effectiveness of their team, and Victoria says she and Jack are an effective team and work hard. Jack is tasked with rehabilitating Drone 66 and locating 173 and Tori, with a deadline at sundown, as Victoria keeps an eye on the situation and conveys the stress of their ongoing mission. Jack drives a futuristic vehicle through a rocky area, reporting multiple scavenger kills and a fierce drone battle. While Victoria observes using satellite tech, Victoria mentions limited visibility due to the mission angle, and he pilots a spacecraft onto a rocky surface. Jack talks about a classic football game played at this dilapidated stadium, recounting the final moments of a historical match for Victoria. He identifies issues with the central core alignment in the drone during a repair operation, and she questions the feasibility of fixing it without the right tools. Jack continues narrating the scene of the football game, where a large crowd watches a rookie wide receiver score an epic touchdown. He interacts with a dog that at first scares him, but as the drone reboots and comes online, he yells at the dog to run away, so that it is not accidentally hurt by the drone. The drone doesn't work properly, and first identifies Jack as a threat. Before he yells at it, he is Tech 49 and it flies away. Jack and Victoria discuss leaving for Titan in 2 weeks, with Jack expressing frustration about the ongoing challenges, despite humanity winning the war, as they continue to monitor the activities of drones and scavengers. Jack prepares for a ground operation after talking with Victoria, who listens intently through a microphone. He rides a futuristic motorcycle across various desolate landscapes, showcasing impressive stunts and maneuvers. Jack communicates critical mission updates to her, locating a target and requesting backup amid a barren, rocky terrain. He descends into a cavernous area, preparing for a solo mission in a desolate, otherworldly setting. Jack moves through a dimly lit abandoned room filled with debris, talking to Victoria and trying to locate a missing drone that he hears making sound somewhere. He explores the dangerous area, using a flashlight to navigate through rubble and obstacles, but suddenly gets trapped, knowing scavengers have tricked him to kill him. During intense fights, Jack tries to get out but fails, and a drone comes to his aid, killing the scavengers, and Jack identifies himself as Tech 49 to not be killed by the drone himself. When the scavengers have been killed, Jack picks up and examines a small worn book, before climbing out, only to discover his bike has been stolen by the scavengers, and so he has to walk home. He gets back home late, having had to walk back to his spacecraft, and is seen taking a shower and reading the book he found. Jack and Victoria talk about Project 109, discussing its strengths and weaknesses. While cooking together with a sunset view, they argue about the risks of bringing biological life from the surface, since Jack brought a plant as a gift for her, with Victoria voicing concerns about possible toxins. Jack and Victoria sit at a table with candles, discussing recent events and the nature of their work, with Victoria calming Jack after the tense encounter with the scavengers. Victoria tells Jack to join her in a pool, diving and swimming, while Jack watches from the edge. Jack expresses interest in showing Victoria a special place he found on the surface, as they share intimate moments by the pool, and Jack jumps in. Victoria and Jack swim together at night, sharing an underwater kiss, as they continue their close emotional exchanges. The next day the two wake up to a big explosion, as a hydro rig malfunctions, with Jack reporting a rogue signal while operating a futuristic vehicle to go and look. Someone confirms the signal isn't from their team, and Victoria notes it's heading off planet, telling Jack he has to go and investigate. Victoria spots a discrepancy in fuel cell counts and confirms a lost drone, coordinating with Sally to adjust strategies. Jack and Victoria keep in touch during the spacecraft's dangerous flight through a canyon, making sure they stay on course. Jack arrives at a destroyed building where the signal originates, investigating the place and finding a beacon he turns off since he thinks the scavengers are up to something to destroy for humanity. Victoria worries about his remote location and questions why scavengers would send signals off planet, to which Jack reassures her. Victoria plans to tackle the issue, while Jack gets ready for an upcoming mission. Jack says he'll go off communication for a while, and Jack turns off his tract, even though Victoria insists on staying connected, stressing the importance of keeping each other updated. Jack walks through a cluttered room filled with personal belongings, interacting with various objects and listening to music while sorting through vinyl records. Jack ponders leaving his peaceful outdoor area, feeling nostalgic for the natural place he's about to leave, suddenly seeing a crashing spaceship. Jack and Victoria re-establish communication, discussing the unidentified object that has crashed, with Victoria urging caution, and Jack wanting to secure the site personally. Despite orders to stand down, Jack insists on overseeing the situation himself, believing it crucial to ensure the site's safety. Victoria keeps warning against further risk, highlighting the loss of resources and the need to rely on automated systems instead of risking more lives. Jack spots it's an old space vehicle among the ruins, while Victoria points out that scavengers had destroyed it. She tells Jack to head back to the tower right away, canceling his mission. In the midst of chaos and flames, Jack reports to the tower about finding human survivors, stressing the urgency. Suddenly drones arrive, starting to kill all the people inside pods, and Jack boldly tells them to back off, successfully overriding one droid. Victoria hears Jack screaming at the drones to stop shooting and to retreat, managing to block one pod using himself as a shield. Jack instructs Victoria to be ready with medical equipment as he will take the one pod that survived back home. Jack and Victoria and cares for the unknown woman, showing concern as she recuperates in a medical facility, introducing themselves to the woman called Julia, who lies in a hospital bed. Victoria cares for her with tenderness. Victoria tells Julia she was rescued from a wrecked ship, where no one else survived. Julia feels sad, and says she must return to the ship, despite the risks, but they urge Julia to rest. They learn that Julia's ship returned because of a beacon signal from the ground, and more details about the mission will be revealed after further inquiry. Over dinner, Jack admits that much has changed during Julia's long Delta sleep. Jack explains that Earth was attacked by scavs, who destroyed the moon and half the planet, leading to a devastating war. He mentions everyone moved to Titan, Saturn's moon, and now they are the only ones left, acting as the cleanup crew. Victoria acknowledges Julia's loss, offering understanding if she needs solitude, and talks about the traumatic event where drones killed her entire crew. They face uncertainty about the mysterious woman brought down by a scav beacon, deciding to focus on getting through the night together. Jack and Julia discuss flying a craft and the upcoming involvement of the TED, while Jack plans to retrieve a flight recorder from his ship before scavengers can reach it. Jack expresses his need to uncover what happened, and Victoria pleads with him, though she admits she can't protect him. In a tense moment, Jack acknowledges his failure to save others in a post-apocalyptic setting. As they navigate through a dangerous, foggy landscape, he finally locates a critical device amid a hazardous environment, cautiously moving through debris-filled areas, ready for potential threats. Jack prepares for an unseen threat in a foggy setting, while Victoria finds him unconscious and tries to revive him. She expresses concern over his disappearance during a pre-dawn patrol, and requests a drone to search for him. Jack contemplates his fate while reciting verses about dying honorably, surrounded by dim lighting and futuristic elements. A man called Malcolm interrogates Jack about his readings, probing for memories Jack claims have been erased for mission security. Jack sits in a dimly lit room watching something closely, and mentions that certain tasks aren't part of his job. Someone talks about technology confusing drones and preventing them from recognizing humans, pointing out that drones are programmed to target people. After being questioned by armed men in an industrial area, Jack hopes to prove Sergeant a man called Sykes wrong. The team plans to use a drone, carrying a nuclear weapon, noting that the drone specifically identifies Jack. They stress the urgency to end the war and mention people are at the target location. Jack and Sykes argue as tensions rise before an upcoming mission, with Malcolm watching from afar. Someone points a gun at Julia's head in a tense standoff, with Malcolm and Sykes staying alert and prepared for conflict. Intense scenes follow, showing a futuristic vehicle shooting light beams as it moves across different terrains, with characters taking cover and fighting the vehicle. Victoria reports that a key mission asset is offline, and asks for permission to send more drones, suggesting a possible threat. Jack says they need to let him go or more drones will come, and Malcolm tells him he should visit the so-called forbidden radiation zones, which are not what he thinks it is. Sykes questions the trustworthiness of Jack, noting the risks of letting him go, but Malcolm says they can trust him because of Julia. Jack asks about their next stop, voicing suspicion and seeking explanations for recent events, showing increasing distrust among the team. Jack recounts a research flight to Titan that was reassigned to investigate an unidentified object, detected by deep space scanners, leading to a mission involving the Tet. He questions the identity of the woman claiming to be his wife, insisting she is not who she claims, despite her insistence that they shared a significant past together. He remembers proposing to her atop a structure, showing her a ring and promising a future, but now finds himself uncertain of her true identity. They share an intimate moment as she holds an engagement ring, reaffirming their connection despite the confusion surrounding their relationship. Jack embraces her against the backdrop of the Empire State Building, and later proposes to her on an observation deck. Jack and Julia stand together, and Jack instructs Victoria not to report to Sally until he returns. He insists they leave the dangerous area immediately, revealing deep tension over their past relationship. Jack demands Victoria open the door, but she refuses, indicating a severe breakdown in their partnership. A mechanical device with a glowing center is shown, followed by cables being ripped apart. Victoria refuses to leave with Jack, insisting she is going to Titan, while he believes they have been misled and pleads for her trust. And suddenly a drone appears and kills her. Jack is thrown to the ground by the blast, and lying injured among debris, he faces the drone with a terminate command, but is saved by Julia at the last second. Sally communicates with Jack via video call, acknowledging Julia's death was a tragic accident, and informs him of a new mission for him and Julia, urging him to return home despite his reluctance. Jack pilots a futuristic aircraft into the sky, focusing intensely as he navigates through clouds and prepares for an unknown mission. He and Julia engage in a tense conversation within the spacecraft, trying to evade danger as they are fleeing from hostile drones. Jack expresses concern about their safety while navigating through a hazardous desert, trying to avoid a radiation zone, but they are hit by a drone and crash inside the radiation zone anyway. After landing, he grabs his gun and runs to deactivate the drone that crashed nearby. He sees another technician and runs up to stop him from fixing the drone, but is shocked to see the other technician being himself. Julia comes closer, seeing both Jack's in a tense standoff. Engaging in physical altercations and chases, Jack fights his counterpart, and in the midst of it all, a shot goes off from a gun that hits Julia. Jack calls out to Julia, finding her injured, and attempts to tend to her wounds while she lies unconscious. He brings her to a cave out of the sun, and then steals the other Jack's ship, identifying himself as Tech 52. Jack meets another Victoria and they engage in a tense conversation about a false alarm, after he retrieves a medical device. Victoria suggests leaving, but Jack walks away without kissing her. So she surprises him by kissing his cheek. He then invites her to join him on a trip to the surface, but she refuses, mentioning it could be dangerous. They have a tense talk about their predicament, ending with Victoria walking away, leaving Jack watching her with worry. Jack remembers a promise from their past, expressing his deep love and desire for a future together, dreaming of growing old by a lake. He talks about dying and being buried there, hoping for a peaceful end where the world might forget them, but they would always have each other. He recalls their shared memories, underlining their bond. As he prepares to leave, he promises to come back after aiding others in need. Victoria spots Jack's biotrail near the West Canyons on a control panel, in what she thinks is a radiation zone, and Sally decides he is a target. Someone explains that Chicago escaped the worst of the disaster, thanks to its bedrock, though most people still starved until the Tet dispatched troop ships. Another notes that many people like Jack Harper had their memories erased, and were programmed for specific tasks. Malcolm explains the Tet's process of extracting energy from planets, and that has somehow created an army of clones of Jack that destroyed the planet. But as he saw Jack one day pick up a book, and then stepped in from a drone to save Julia, he knew he was different. Malcolm then talks him and Julia through the high-stakes mission ahead. The team prepares for an event, talking about the satisfaction of seeing their plan succeed, even though they know it means a one-way trip. People gather around a large futuristic device, ready for an unknown event. Jack sprints through chaotic environments, fighting fiercely and narrowly, escaping danger, often alongside Sykes. They engage in various intense actions involving machinery and weapons, ending with Jack running toward an explosion in an industrial area. Malcolm and Jack face numerous tense confrontations and chaotic settings, with Malcolm pushing for the use of a device to help in their dire situation. In a fiery and smoky environment, Jack comforts a distressed companion, facing a large mechanical creature while holding on to hope for survival. During a final tense exchange, Jack and Malcolm argue about the risks of a dangerous mission, but decide to face the peril together, reminiscing about memories of home, despite the chaos around them. Jack stands close with someone else, preparing for something significant, questioning readiness as tension fills the scene. Jack and others engage in intense discussions and physical interactions, showing a mix of concern and support. Jack loads the bomb and Julia to his ship, and while heading to the Tet, he listens to the 60-year-old flight recorder of Julia's crashed ship, hearing himself talking with Sally. Victoria and Jack talk about mission details and personal matters aboard a spacecraft, sharing updates on crew status and expressing camaraderie despite the high-stakes environment. Jack and Victoria prepare for a mission aboard a spacecraft, with Jack voicing worries about the state of the equipment, and other crew members, including Julia Rusakova. As they near their destination, Victoria contacts Sally, initiating maneuvers and updating her on the craft's trajectory, and the necessity for a full arms burn to prevent collision. Despite their efforts to pull away, the spacecraft undergoes considerable strain, prompting discussions between Jack and Victoria about the mission's dangers, and the need to jettison the sleep module to guarantee the rest of the crew's safety. Jack insists on piloting the command module solo, but Victoria opposes this, stressing their teamwork. Julia is seen resting in a medical pod as Jack watches, and Victoria pushes Jack to hurry, signaling a growing urgency. Amidst piloting a spacecraft with drones encircling him, Jack talks to Sally, revealing heightened stress levels and hinting at defiance. He expresses a strong wish for Julia's survival and the continuation of their species, saying he and Julia is a better team than him and Victoria was, facing a critical juncture with a tough decision ahead. He glides through a dark metallic setting, heading toward a large glowing structure, greeted by Sally welcoming Jack back home. Jack reflects on a Roman tale of Horatius, in a book he read, defending a bridge against an army, underscoring that dying well is the core of survival, while admitting that everyone eventually passes. Suddenly we see that it is not Julia in the pod, but Malcolm. The Tet says in the voice of Sally that it is God, and the one who created him. And as drones approach them to kill him, Jack responds to the Sally persona of the Tet, that it can go frick itself. Malcolm and Jack smiles as they activate the nuke. We hear Jack's voice saying, he thinks about how he affects others' lives, recalling memories and dreams, and tends to some plants in a garden. For 3 years the other Jack looks for a particular house, convinced it exists, because of his close connection to the original builder, his clone. And once he finally finds it, he announces he feels like he's come home. The end. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and hit the like button to help us out. Until next time, take care.